Welcome back to the Contractor Marketing Show. I'm your host, Matt Thibeau, and today I'm sitting down here with Kelly from Thibeau Digital. How's it going, Kelly?
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on the show. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to make it happen. I'm glad that we finally did make it happen here because all of you landscapers listening to this right now, I think we're in for a really great treat. I'm super grateful to have Kelly here on the show. So basically, I'll let Kelly just kind of quickly introduce herself, and then we'll jump into all the great stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Cool. Yeah, so again, thanks for having me, Matt. My name is Kelly Dowell. I own Thibeau Digital. We are a marketing agency that specializes in lawn care, landscaping, hardscaping, irrigation, tree contractors. All of those services fall under our umbrella. So it doesn't matter if you're primarily maintenance or design build or residential or commercial, like it all kind of falls in our wheelhouse. And the services that we provide are mostly organic services, organic digital marketing, if you will. So blog and content writing, website kind of page development, and email marketing, and of course, social media marketing. So I started my business 7 years ago. I have a background in the green industry. My parents owned a landscaping company that I worked at for, let's just call it my whole life until I started this 7 or 8 years ago. So yeah, happy to be here. And I know we have a full gamut of things to talk about of how your services are very complementary to the ones that we offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of good stuff there. Yeah. So what I'm really excited about, you just said it there, is we do a lot of the ad stuff and we bring people on the podcast talking about that. But it's always great to have someone on the podcast talking about the organic stuff, because what we're going to talk about on this podcast and what you guys are going to get out of this is just really diving into some really simple things that you can be doing on the organic side, content, everything that Kelly was just saying, that's really going to put you in a great position before advertising, or if you're doing advertising right now, of how to elevate those results, because we can get into some really specific things of what you can do to make that happen. But let's just kind of I like what you were just saying there of how you got into this. Before we get into the nitty gritty of stuff, just how did you get into this there? You're saying your family was involved?
Yeah, my parents owned a landscaping company, so I worked there. I started licking envelopes and licking the stamps and putting them on there when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. And then I would go to work with my parents over summer breaks and things like that. I was answering the phone, and then eventually became an account manager. I ran the office for a while. I did a lot of filing. I wore a lot of hats. And then I found out I really gravitated towards the sales side of things. The company that we had was really good at quality work. They were just known for the quality of the work that they did, and they almost didn't need a sales engine of sorts. But I went to school for business administration and also had an emphasis in marketing. So I just really gravitated towards that. So that's one of the things I built was we need a process. I'm very process driven. I'm first this happens, it has to be repeatable and scalable. So I just documented all the things that we were doing and made a system for it. And that just really just turned on the sales machine. So on top of the high quality work that we were doing, we had the sales output as well. And then that just really grew and amplified the business. So, went from there, doing a lot of the sales to becoming a sales manager, and then just really kind of running the business all around.
Wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. Love what you're talking about with systems there. So let's just jump right into things. First question is just kind of why does content really matter for contractors? Why should a contractor focus in on that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we always talk about with new clients of ours is what are the main questions that people are coming to you with? Why does your phone ring? And what are they asking? And so can we get your phone to stop ringing? It's kind of what we want to do for a lot of our customers. They would rather see it come in. I have a handful of exceptions who really prefer the phone calls, but a lot of people would prefer to see it come in online, and we can kind of solve their problem and make the sale. So why content matters is we take those questions that people are frequently asking and we turn them into content. And that's what we find people are putting into Google. We find that people are asking their friends about, or they're just, genuinely interested in. And if we can solve that problem for them, we're just one step closer to becoming their choice of provider.
So what would that look like on a practical level? Like, in terms of blogs, let's say I'm a contractor and I have a website and I want to do like a little bit of blogging. Like, what are some blogs that I could create that you guys have done that you think would be able to mitigate, quote unquote, tire kickers or people who maybe aren't educated? Like, where would they start for something like that?
Yeah, so the time we're recording this, it's just almost August. And so we're heading right into lawn renovation season. And so one of the questions like that we're answering for a client of ours is what's the difference between organic liquid aeration and the other types of aeration that there are. So mechanical aeration, for example. So if somebody wants to know, like, why are they selling me liquid organic aeration? What is that? Or somebody might ask the question like, hey, if they're new to the area, they might see that they have all these little clumps in their neighbor's lawn. Like, what are these little clumps in my neighbor's lawn? Like, why didn't they pick them up? Like, those might be questions if they're, like you said, maybe uneducated about the type of service that we can answer, and they can, find us through that route.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, immediately what comes to mind is like we have a client right now who does very high-end tiny homes, and his biggest competitor are the Amish, because they'll provide it for like a lot less, right? And so what we're finding we're having to do is like he's getting a lot of leads coming in through, but people have no education in terms like when they get into the sales process of like, how much more quality, how much more high end, the warranty, everything that he has. So that's been like a bit of a challenge for him because he's not super strong on the sales side of things. So we're having to go really hard on the front end with the marketing of being like, this is why we're different. This is it, blah, blah, blah. So I could definitely see, especially if you're a higher end contractor and you're trying to command higher fees, like you definitely need to have that education up front there, or like what I call the positioning, right? So that someone's going to be like, oh yeah, I saw that you had this award. I read this blog about like XYZ. So I totally get that.
Well, and I think like you're saying too, there's so many different places that people come in and what we call like the buyer's journey in the marketing world. And so some of the like questions where they're just brainstorming or would be like, what are these clumps in my neighbor's lawn, or whatever. And then, as they start educating themselves, they're going to start asking questions like, do I want mechanical aeration or do I want liquid organic aeration? And as even more educated, then they're going to start thinking about pricing. Okay, I know I want liquid organic aeration. How much does that cost? And so they're funneling themselves down from like this investigation phase into, okay, I figured out what I want. Same thing with like pools. Like, do you want a gunite pool? Do you want this type of pool? And you do your homework and think about how much you want to spend and what your budget is. And then do you want a contractor that installs the pool as well as sees the whole big picture with the landscaping with it? And then those are the questions that you're able to answer in your blog. So it's not just a one-time blog of like, what is aeration? Or, we do pools or whatever. It's multiple blogs for different phases of questions that they're asking during their buyer's journey of, each of these services that you offer.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then like, what are you doing with those blogs? Like, are you putting those blogs on social media? Do you send the blog to a lead like before they come in? What are the things that you guys typically recommend to do with that information so that it can have the highest output?
Yeah, so one of our clients that gets the best bang for their buck is doing pretty much all the things you just mentioned. They're a nationwide company, and they are, taking feedback from their sales units all over the nation, and they're saying like, what are people asking? What do people want? And then they're creating blogs that are also just basically sales tools. So they're utilizing something like HubSpot or effective ways to communicate and automate their systems or, their communication systems with their clients to say, here's a Christmas in July guide on how to do your interior scaping for the holidays, because there's a lot of commercial work. And so they created this guide, which is a blog, which their salespeople can use and distribute. But also they're putting it on social media. They're sending it out in an email to all of their clients. And then it kind of lives on forever. So you can revamp it next year and say, this is the 2025 guide. This is the new trendy stuff. And Google really likes that when you update those blogs, keep them current.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think you mentioned too that you do a little bit of email marketing as well. Like that's, or maybe not a little bit, that's a significant part of like what you guys do. That's something that we recommend to our clients as well, because it's like, you're not going to close every single lead that comes in right away from an ad or like from whatever. And so you've got this list of leads that are in like a nurture phase, right? Maybe they said like, oh yeah, man, like give me a call in a couple of months, we're still thinking about it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so is that kind of like, is that the type of situation where maybe like, is it a monthly email? Is it a bi-weekly? Like, what does that typically look like to nurture those emails, those people? Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends. We like to segment our list all the time. So for the majority of our clients, what seems to work, because I'm a very process structured person. What seems to work is that everybody gets at least one email per month. So that typically looks like a newsletter of sorts. And it has a couple different sections. It includes the blog. It includes, some other things that are high level hitting points that we want them to know, like here's services that are going on and that sort of thing, as well as some cultural pieces. We want them, not everything's a sales pitch. So, hey, here's a podcast we recorded, or hey, we recently gave back to the Omaha Parks, blah, 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 or, something like that. So something fun. And then the other thing we do is what we call like promotional emails. And so, maybe you'll do the newsletter everybody gets, but then since if we're just going to stick with the aeration trend here, we might pull a client list of clients who had an aeration last year, but not this year, or clients who don't have aeration at all scheduled, or clients that have aeration, but not overseeding, and pull lists like this. And we create very specialized targeted emails to go to them each month as well. So they'll get, it's one call to action. It's briefs, like heavy, like just here's what it is. Here's why you need it. Here's how much it costs. Here's how to get it, quick email that they get each month. So say you have every single service that this company offers, you're still going to at least get the newsletter each month.
Yeah, I love it. You said something there where you were like, it's not always necessarily like a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
Like we send out emails for our company, and like a lot of it is just informational, and then like someone will reply back to it and they'll be like, Matt, I've been following you for like 2 years, blah, blah, blah. I'm finally ready to talk type thing. And the same thing happens with a lot of our clients. And so, I love that, because a lot of the stuff that we try and do on social media with our advertising is like, yes, of course, a lot of it is very direct response focused, where we say like, hey, get an estimate, reach out. But the other aspect of it is that we want to actually build the trust, because, sometimes we'll get contractors who come to us and they're like, brand new company, and we'll talk about this in a sec, but like, no online presence, no nothing, no Facebook page, no nothing. And they're like, Matt, let's go. I want to start like up an ad campaign. Or like, all right, we'll build up the Facebook page. We'll do like 3 posts on there and like run the ads. And it's like, you're going to get some leads for sure. But it's like, those people have zero trust with you. They go to the Facebook page, they see nothing. They Google you, they see nothing. And so something that we really try to focus on with contractors is the importance of like video content, pictures of your crew, of you, like who is behind this company, because that's what I find the easiest way to build the trust, to actually get someone to be like, I want to talk to this guy. So I'm just curious, like, I know I threw a lot at you there, but like, what's your kind of response or feedback to that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you made me write down notes so I wouldn't lose everything. That was a lot of information, Matt, but I think you're hitting it dead on. Building the trust is 100% what we're doing. And I think like I said at the beginning, our services complement each other well. We don't do any ad spend. Very rarely do we do any ad spend, I should say. But we do focus a lot on almost what I would call public relations. And so online reviews, we're very heavy in that, making sure that, when people look you up, they're not seeing that you have 3.6 stars, because that's not good. Like 4.7 or higher is kind of our goal for all of our clients. We're making sure that they're getting awards and that we're applying for awards for them. If there's local awards, or the National Association of Landscape Professionals has awards every year that you can submit to. Yeah, I happen to be on the judging committee, so I'm a big fan of that. I don't judge my clients, don't worry. But also another trust building thing is that behind the scenes. So that's something you don't have to pay for. It's really simple to do. Like everybody on your team has a camera phone and they can go out and take some video. They can take some pictures of what the girls and guys are doing in the field to produce good quality work. And we can throw that in your Instagram story, a featured story. We can, use it all over the place for social media. It's great. So those things I think just really build the trust when people are researching you. Again, thinking about that buyer's journey, what part of the funnel they're in. If they're just investigating and looking at their options, they might pick one over the other because they just seem like they're cool cats. Like they're like, I like that they're always in uniform in their LinkedIn photos, or I like that they're always, looking professional, or they're always preaching about safety, or, whatever it might be. Like, that builds a lot of trust there. So one thing I, want to ask you, or kind of have you piggyback on here, is the quality and quantity of photos and stuff like that. So for us, as a managing social media content for a lot of our contractors, we're fine with taking any sort of like iPhone or Android video or photo and utilizing them. And of course, we love the professional pictures and professional video. We love that. But it's not necessary for a day-to-day, everyday posting situation. You just don't need a professional or a drone shot every single day. But I'm thinking that, you fill us in here, like for ads, is it more important to have that higher level?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first off, stock photos, don't do them, bro. Like it just doesn't work. Like we do stock photos like when we're desperate, when someone doesn't send us anything.
Yeah, we end up just not working with you anymore.
It doesn't work. Like a construction dude doesn't look like that either. Doesn't have the hard hat on, and like he's got the hard hat or whatever. It's like, this isn't gonna work.
And people don't rake mulch and stuff. So
exactly.
Out of here.
No, so the stock photos, like we've tested that again and again and again. They just don't work. I think that people have seen the same photo over and over again, and they can like tell when it's stock. So instantly, like it just doesn't build a lot of trust. In terms of like, okay, what's better, like the iPhone picture or like the super professional one? Right now, what we're finding that works really well on ads are like the shitty iPhone pictures.
Sweet.
It's interesting. We actually had a client who did like a full-on photo shoot, with like, he spent like a couple grand on it at least. And they were really great pictures. And we ran those pictures, and then our team were like, okay, let's do a test though. Let's see, like, let's ask him to take like the same type of pictures, but just on an iPhone, like very casual stuff. And he even had like high-end videos and stuff. And the one that worked the best was just a crappy iPhone picture of him on a roof with a thumbs up, and just worked really, really well. Sometimes we don't know what's going to work until we test it, but based off of like my experience of what we're seeing right now, it's the iPhone pictures. And my theory for that is that people just like to see like behind the scenes, like what's kind of like the real version of him. Because in this day and age now, where like Instagram and like all these highlight reels, I think, and now with AI, it's even more, I think that people are aware of like Photoshop and doctored images and stuff. And so now it's kind of nice to just see the back end picture of, the contractor with his crew, and they're like just hanging out and like give a thumbs up, and like you're still professional, but it's not this like squeaky clean image.
Yeah. That's great feedback too. I mean, we're seeing like some of the posts that perform the best. We send monthly reports out on like, hey, these are your top performing posts for engagement and impressions and things like that, are always the one where there's somebody smiling in the photo. So whether they're like, thumbs up, or they're just like standing there holding a hanging basket of flowers and smiling, or whatever it is, like those are the ones that are always hit the highest.
So I have a question for you, just like a follow-up on that. A challenge that we run into with contractors is that they'll be like, but Matt, I'm not a picture person. I'm not a video person. I'm really good at like, doing the job, but I don't feel comfortable like putting myself out there. And, we like go to great lengths of coaching them, We have all these examples. We even give them the scripts and everything. Just say this, bro. But I'm just curious of like, what's your experience been like that? And what would you say to the contractor who's, you know, feeling a little bit shy on camera?
We do the same thing that you do, you know. There's not much else you can say, you know. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, other people do, and other people will, you know, have ads, and your competitors will get in front of the camera. So, you know, find somebody in your company that is willing to do it, isn't you know, afraid, because there's people out there that are like, would love to jump on that opportunity and take an iPhone around and talk to people. And I think with the right person, you know, you find that personality, and it just works for your brand. So if it's not you, find a great person to do it. You know, delegate if it's not you. And we say the same thing, exactly what you said. We put together scripts for you and we give you ideas, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not there to do it for you. We can kind of walk alongside you, but we can't hold your hand. And, you know, you got to just, if you want the photos and you want good looking stuff, you know, you'll do it. So we give people ways to get their team involved, because we have found that like the iPhone images work really well. And so, you know, we create WhatsApp groups or Slack groups. You know, there's a company out there called Company Cam that works really well, where it's just, you know, a way for crew members to take a photo, and it timestamps it location stamps it. And, you know, after 4 years, you can see like when you sold this project, and then 4 years later, every single time somebody was on that site, there's a photo of it. So you can see how this whole thing has morphed, you know, this project that you've managed, or this property that you've managed. So, and it keeps it organized for you. So we like tools like that. You know, we recommend them all day long to people, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, you can have Company Cam and your whole team might not be using it if you don't tell them or make them do it. You have to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a question for you that might be kind of controversial. It's like, when it comes to content, whether it's blogs or just posting on social media or any of this stuff, is like quantity or quality? Like, what's more important, would you say?
I would say both. I just actually posted about this on my LinkedIn, and so it's a both. You know, you can't just post once a month or once every couple of months. People are looking for more than that from you, and but it's, you know, I would say too that the quality doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be super professional every single time. You know, the iPhones and the Android pictures are doing just fine, and people are totally okay with it.
Yeah, I would definitely say the same thing, both. If I had to pick one, I feel like for a contractor, I would probably say quantity, because at least you're getting seen. You know, now I'm assuming that the picture's not like, oh, like a defamating picture. You know what I mean? But if it's just like a picture of your face and you're like, hey, call me, here's my number, I would say that's better than doing it once a month, you know?
Yeah, well, then I would say that if it's more than once a month, for sure. I mean, you definitely need to be, honestly, 3 times a week is the minimum that we're seeing as, you know, what needs to be out there. Our you know, one of the social media accounts that I manage is posting daily, and that's the one that's doing the best for organic, is they have daily posts. So they can be a blend, right? Like, you don't have to. Instagram, you have to use imagery, but Facebook, you can use links, and you know, LinkedIn, you can just simply post. You don't have to put anything there. You can just have content. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it.
That's really cool. So we're coming to the end here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But, you know, for the contractor listening to this, maybe he's doing like a little bit of everything that we just talked about, you know, like maybe he's got a blog, posting a little bit here on social media, has some reviews on Google, like doing okay. What would you say would be like the one area of focus that would be kind of like, you know, the 80-20, that would be kind of the biggest payoff for that person who's kind of already doing a little bit of all of this, but they're like, what's kind of the one thing I could do that would really make a big difference?
I would say delegate. Get it off of your plate and set up a structure and a system for it to run smoothly. So if you're doing all these things, that's a lot of balls in the air, and I can see how that can get overwhelming. So figure out a plan that works for you, like get a project management tool or whatever. There's lots of social media posting tools out there that can manage that process for you. So maybe it's delegate to a software, delegate to an AI, or delegate to a Matt or a Kelly. But there's definitely, it shouldn't all just fall in your lap unless that's 100% your role in the company, which for most contractors and owners and business leaders, it's not. And marketing isn't something that you should be spending a lot of your time doing. It should be something that you collaborate with and you have a voice in and you have a say in. But it's not your, everything that you should be doing. There's so many other things in the business that need to be managed that only you can do, and marketing is not one of them.
Yeah, 100%. I love that answer. Like sometimes we get contractors too who like will try and run. They'll say like, "Oh, I'm going to try and run it myself" or something, and then like instantly just everything will get neglected, because as a contractor, your biggest thing that you should be focusing on is recruiting people into your team and just like sales, focus on bringing the money in. Marketing, you should have a little bit of an idea of it, just enough to be dangerous. But you're right. Yeah. It's like if you're the one who's like posting on social and doing all that stuff, like
doing that.
Eventually. Yeah. And you need some kind of system. I like that you were talking about a system, because like if you're just winging it, then, it's eventually going to drop. So
yeah, creating that schedule for your content. I mean, all of our clients walk away, even if you don't hire us, you walk away with, after our discovery,
that's cool.
Our onboarding, you walk away with like a yearly content plan. So you should have an idea of what you're going to be doing, and then you can execute it however you would, So having a plan and having a plan to delegate.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And I guess I'll just finish off here is kind of just, what would be like the one piece of advice? I guess I kind of already said that, but, just generally with what you guys do, what would be kind of the one piece of advice that you'd give a contractor, just so that they can
yeah, I mean, it kind of goes along with what I just said with delegate, but I would also say get your whole team involved. So, everybody, marketing is not just for sales. It's also for recruiting. It's also for like, there's just so many things.
That's really true, actually.
Like people are researching you all the time. Even if they type in your name as it's your personal business. It's your personal, it's where these people work, like that you hire, like they want to be able to show off their place of employment. It's just so much more than that. So getting your team invested in the things that you guys are doing, like behind the scenes, you'd be surprised. Like the payoff on that is just, so huge that they feel like it just makes it more of a team. It makes it more of the family oriented atmosphere. Then they start sharing stuff, and they start feeling really proud of their work, and they want to tag and they want to be a part of it. And as we know, like that's just how things kind of go viral, as more and more people get invested in it. So I would say, delegate to somebody who knows what they're doing, has the time and the bandwidth and the capacity to do it, and get your entire team involved in some sort of capacity, whether it's just everybody has to take one photo a day, that's simple as that. Or, having, hey, you're a really great big personality. We'd love to see you more in front of the camera. It could be, even bigger than that. So, getting people involved.
I love it. Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot for your time, Kelly. Like lots of really good stuff here. I'm going to put a link to your website in the show notes. Is there anything else I should put in there? Anything you want to add, or is that good? Should people follow you somewhere?
Yeah, I post regularly on LinkedIn. And then otherwise just see my website is good.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll put those links in the description for you guys to check out, so you can follow Kelly or reach out to her if you'd like to speak with her. Other than that, guys, thanks for tuning into this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Matt.